Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another edition of Are You In? I hope you're all having a lazy Sunday afternoon. I at least had a lazy Sunday morning, but unfortunately, I'm not going to have that much time left because I have to be at work in about an hour. So today, I'm reviewing an album from January that I've listened to but haven't had time to put the album review out. And this one is the Black Veil Bride's latest album entitled Vale. Now, if you don't know, Black Veil Brides they are a pretty polarizing metal, hard rock, and like heavy metal says hard rock band, glam band, arena metal if you want, from Cincinnati, Ohio. Their members include Andy Biersack on lead vocals, Ashley Purdy on bass guitar and backing vocals, Jinx on rhythm guitar, violin, and backing vocals, Jake Pitts on lead guitar, and Christian C.C. Coma on drums and percussion. I was introduced to this band in sophomore year of college from a friend of mine. They introduced me to their second album, Set the World on Fire, which was released in 2011, and their previous album, We Stitch These Wounds. That one was in 2010. When I listened to Set the World on Fire, I got a very, very it was very much like an Avenged Sevenfold, an old maybe backcountry area of Avenged Sevenfold. Very just like not necessarily speed metal, but like around that area. Dueling guitars, a lot of guitar solos, a lot of flair, a lot of glam, which you could definitely hear a lot of that on something like City of Evil, though I would say the arrangement level of the music on Set the World on Fire wasn't as great as, say, as City of Evil. So it was their sophomore album. Still pretty good, really enjoyed it. Was excited to hear their next album, which was dropped in 2013, called The Wretched and the Divine, Story of the Wild Ones, which was a concept album. It was in my top 10 of the year for that year. I really enjoyed it. I thought the arrangements were much better. I thought the story was interesting. Maybe now I wouldn't have put it in my top 10, but it definitely would have been in my top 20 of that year. And it's definitely their best album. And then, unfortunately, in 2014, they dropped a self-titled album, which was one of the most overrated and just horrible metal albums I've heard in recent history. Just very cliched. It made me wonder how they had something so great in 2013 and threw it away in 2014. That was insane to me. So when I heard that they were dropping a new album in early 2018, I was mixed bag. I wasn't sure if it was going to sound more like 2013's Wretched and Divine or their previous album, and that made me worried. But took a listen to it, and so what do I think about it? It's a mixed bag, I would say. It's definitely a mixed bag. When they're on, they're very good. Songs like Dead Man Walking, the longest song on the album, is a breath of fresh air in terms of their sound. It's much more mature. There's a lot of tension and a lot of building. There's a lot of surprise moments where, especially during the first chorus, where they go down. They soften a little bit on the sound, and they use some time-elapsed guitar, and it gives Biersack's vocals time to breathe. And it's a song about President Trump, right when he became President Trump. It's not that hard not to figure that out. And his reaction after Election Day. And there are moments where it gets to breathe, and it's really cool. So it's definitely one of my favorites on the album. It grows very well. There is a little bit of problem in the bridge section. It kind of just overstays its welcome in that part, but it has a cool idea, and then it also brings back an idea from the Wretched and the Divine with the overtures, where it takes like the first half of the album and put some orchestra and some strings to it, to some of those the melody ideas. And it's a really cool idea. I really like it each time that they do it. The other really big, um, the other really big hit for me is the last song on the album, Vale. It's another one that builds very well, and starts off with just acoustic guitar and strings, and then eventually builds up to the full entire band. Has a really cool guitar solo, and overall, it's a really nice ending to the album. And apparently, it's an ending to the Wild Ones storyline from 2013. I'll get back to that in a minute, where I think it's a little bit weird, but overall, really cool song that just grows and grows, and that's where they hit their strides. There's even some ones that don't necessarily hit those levels. My Vow is just feels more like something off of Set the World on Fire, or that era, where it's a little bit more a little bit more fast paced, a little bit more power, which is something that is lacking on this album. Um, there's ones like When They Call My Name, which is definitely an arena, like a power ballad, arena hit, something that you would play where everyone was just going to scream the lyrics. And it does well for what it is. It is a single. It is very poppy, but it does do very well. It's because of the instrumentation. It's because of the lyrics themselves, talking about dealing with anxiety. And I think it just does a fantastic job on that sense. And then, I mean, that's where it gets a little bit of a problem for me. Is that once you hit those ones, and there are a few other ones that are interesting, but once you get to there, you get to a point where everything else kind of sounds very similar, or are just uninteresting. It all falls into that vein of arena, of like hard rock glam, that's just uninteresting to me. It's not that it's bad. It's just kind of like when I talked about Afraid of Heights. It's just all stuff that just I can't put one over the other, just because they're all solid-ish in its own right, but just are all that level. And that becomes an issue for me, because especially in the second half, most of those songs are in the second half. So once you get to there, it's kind of like, don't waste your time. Just skip to the last song because it's really good. Other than that, like, the drumming's solid. There's a lot of guitar solos, but unfortunately, I just want a little bit more from them. It's not that they're lackluster. It's more of the fact that there aren't. It always just follows this like 8 measure idea where he gets 8 measures to improvise, and it's like, why not give this guy more time? Especially on some of these songs like When They Call My Name or Veil, where it feels like it needs a much more grandiose solo, and it doesn't happen. So that's something that it's missing, and I would love to see how we could do like over like a 30, like a minute solo, which would be awesome, because he has the technical chops, and I can hear some interesting ideas as he goes through the chords. It's just it doesn't have enough build, and that's something that is missing. Another thing that's just missing to me is the idea of it's not hard enough. Like, going back to the Wretched and Divine, the Wretched and Divine is good because it has so many interesting arrangements, and there's a lot of really good energy. This feels more poppy, hard rock, instead of something like Wretched and Divine. It does a better job than their previous album, but it just makes me want more of Wretched and Divine. And that brings up my final thing, is it says it's supposed to be a continuation of this story, but I don't think it needed one. And it just doesn't always, it never feels like it is actually continuing it, because there's so many songs that just don't feel like it's doing anything to the story, or feel like one-offs, or barely pushing the story along. So when they say that Veil is the song that is ending the story, it feels like, where is this coming from? It shouldn't be there. at least from what I feel. So maybe I'm wrong, maybe I'm misreading some of this stuff, but it doesn't feel like it's a great way of ending this album. So I'm gonna end my rantings there. Um, what I rate this, I would say this is maybe my fourth best favorite album by them. I miss the power from Wretched and Divine. I miss the power from Set the World on Fire, and I miss the arrangement and the interesting ideas from Wretched and Divine. Um, but it is better than their previous album. It's a good step. Um, there's a person that I listened to that my brother got me onto called Cover Killer Nation, who was talking about some of these ideas of like they have a more mature sound, and I don't know if that's necessarily the case. I can definitely hear that it's more mature than Set the World on Fire, but it makes me worried that they're going to a more, more glam, more anthemish, more poppy sound, which I don't think that's, if they want to do that, that's definitely great, but then you start going away from Wretched and Divine, and that was a great album, and I would love to see more like that. I think it was an interesting concept, and I feel like they could do more cool stories if they flesh it out a little bit. This feels like it's a mix between a one-off CD and a story, and I don't know which one it is, and that's where it gets a little bit weird for me. So I would say, if you are a Black Veil Brides fan, listen to this album, potentially thinking that it is the closing of this story that may or may not need to have been closed. And don't get your hopes up for closure if you were looking for that. If you are a hard rock fan, or a heavy metal fan, or glam rock fan, anything like that, I think you'll find some enjoyment here. Just know that there is a lot of poppy sounds on here. And if you are new to this genre or new to Black Veil Brides and want to listen to this, I would say this might be a good starting point, knowing that eventually you want to get to knowing, don't listen to Black Veil Brides, the previous album. Listen to Wretched and Divine. That's probably the most cohesive sound that they have. And from there, maybe listen to Set the World on Fire, even though that's more aggressive side than Wretched and Divine. But also, in general, I can't recommend this whole entire CD to a lot of people. I would say listen to the first half and then listen to Vale, because that is honestly probably you're losing a lot of filler songs on there. And that's what it is. There's a lot of filler, unfortunately. So it's not their greatest one, but it is a nice step it's a step in the right direction. And I'm curious to see what they come out with next. Hopefully, it's not another Black Veil Brides. But anyways, that's my time. I hope you enjoyed it. Let me know what you think. Let me know if you are a Black Veil Brides fan and have an idea of this story and are seeing things that maybe I don't see in this. Please let me know, because I would love to see how this particular album is how it closes this story. And if you, of course, do everything that I usually say, like the video, comment on albums that you would like me to talk about, or things I could do better. Share this with your friends. Subscribe to my channel. That would be the biggest thing, of course. Subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. It's just one click away. And then stay tuned for other album reviews I'm going to be doing in the future. So I'm also going to link to this Cover Killer Nation review. I don't usually do this, but I thought it was interesting enough. It's a little bit shorter, and it's a different perspective because he is someone who doesn't necessarily like Black Veil Brides. I have grown to like them, and so you can definitely see the comparisons and contrasting. I agree with some of the stuff. I don't necessarily agree with everything. So I'll send a link there so that you can actually take a look at it. And then in terms of album reviews for this coming week, I'm still a little bit not sure, but I will definitely have something Wednesday, something Friday, and something Sunday. So keep a lookout for that. And until then, I'll see you in the next video. Peace.